Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest in the Send INFUSE Webinar series. I'm Tony Tarquini, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's webinar. The subject of our conversation today is partnerships, entitled Collaboration is the New Competition. And to discuss the subject today, we've got a great panel of people who've been there and done it. So I'd like to just very rapidly run through our speakers for today and get them to introduce themselves. So if we could start with Britt, please.
Thanks, Tony. Good day, everyone. Britt Van Dalen. I'm a senior partner here at Alpha FMC. We're a boutique management consulting firm that supports the insurance and asset wealth management industries exclusively, working across the strategy, operations, tech strat, and tech implementation capabilities.
And second up, we have Jacob.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jacob Rublewski. I'm representing Source Consulting, a multinational IT consulting company and IT integrator with a very strong focus on insurance. What we mainly provide and do for our clients is we help in their digital transformations, career placement programs, data and automation initiatives. Maybe what's worth mentioning is that I joined this company more than 15 years back, and I'm privileged to lead our London market practice, where among many other things, I'm also responsible for building and overlooking our partnerships with different providers and technology partners like Send.
Excellent, Jacob. Thanks very much. Your background is going to come very useful in this call. And finally, last but not least, Mike.
Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Graham. I am head of commercial here at Send. Send is a software house providing an underwriting workbench package primarily to complex commercial insurance. I also happen to have the pleasure of heading up our alliances program as well. So I look forward to sharing some insights and answering some questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. So look, today we're looking to talk about data vendors, implementation partners and technology consultants building strong partnership networks as a great way to drive revenue expansion and market share, and look at how strategic partners can expedite growth, how to build a strong partnership so that both companies win, which I think is a key question that we need to look at, what to look for in a good partner. And strong partnerships can create win-win scenarios for customers, for partners, and for insurers alike. So we want to be able to examine how that can happen. So we've got 30 minutes. We need to move on fairly quickly. I'll start by really just sort of asking a very simple question. How does an insurer find a good partner? What should you look for if you want to succeed? Britt, can I start you off on that question?
Absolutely, Tony. And it may seem a little counterintuitive, but as we're working with our clients, what we've found is that the most successful partnership models typically start with the insurer looking inward at themselves and taking some time to really define what they want. And this becomes important because as you're seeking your partner, having a guidepost, being able to point that compass needle in a direction of what you're trying to achieve and what your vision for the future looks like really helps answer a lot of downstream questions in terms of what partner you should select, how you should interact with that partner. And it really helps your partner or potential partners understand how to put their best foot forward in interacting with you. And I'd say there's probably two key elements that we encourage our clients to focus in on. First and foremost is really the definition of, for example, their future state underwriter, their vision for their underwriter. At Alpha, we use a process called Alpha's quantum underwriter process that helps our clients rapidly articulate where in the future their clients, underwriters are going to be leaning in. Are they going to be focused on risk assessment? Are they going to be focused on wheeling and dealing in the marketplace? What do we expect that underwriter view in the form of technology or data going forward? And by articulating where you're going to lean in, you can really start to stage the inputs that you're going to need. The other area that we really focus in on is really effectively articulating your key requirements. And this is across your business stakeholders, your technology stakeholders, and even those that, for example, surround underwriting. This could be finance, actuarial, other key stakeholder groups that need to put their fingerprints on what your future state looks like. If you're able to articulate that, you're going to find you have a much easier time interacting with potential partners, setting expectations with those partners, and ultimately driving toward a successful implementation as you're working at actually putting your toolkit into place.
Okay. Jacob, do you have a different perspective from a European point of view, a London market point of view?
Probably I would like to add something on the top of what Britt said, because I fully agree with what was said here. But I think nowadays it's a cultural fit, and shared values are becoming really more and more important part, because in the long run, the technology changes, the know-how may be no longer relevant, and if you truly can build a cooperation on a trust, then this may survive some obstacles, some problems, and I think this is also a factor that every insurer should take into consideration when selecting a vendor or SI.
Yeah, I mean, our insurance industry is all based on relationship. It's all based on long-term trust and strategic relationships. So it's so important. And, look, we all know that in every single IT project there's ever been, something will go wrong somewhere along the line. And having that strong relationship, I think, is a key part of it. Mike, I guess you agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote down 3 things as we were talking, which were cultural fit, aligned vision, and expertise, all of which are absolutely fundamental to this selection process. You're in it for the long haul. People tend not to want to swap partners out at a regular rate. So you need to have that relationship and that pragmatism that goes alongside it to be able to drive forward. And that's not just about technology partners and system integrators, but it goes further throughout the whole sort of ecosystem of partnership, having that. And also the relationship between your partners as well, making sure that it's not just a fit for the customer and their vendor, but it's also every single partner in the ecosystem is going to have a touch point with each other. So having that level of cultural fit across the piece, the pragmatism, the ability to work together as a seamless organization is absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember that some of the best customers I have had in the past. And one of them stands out quite a long way. One of the most largest insurance broking firms. The IT director there and I both had the same view that the project, there were hiccups along the way, and sometimes I picked up the tab, sometimes he picked up the tab, but it evened out over the end, and it was a bit like going out for lunch. Sometimes he paid, sometimes I paid, but it all worked out even in the end. And I think a relationship is so important when you've got an IT project to do. So, how do customers look at strategic partnerships? I mean, what's their view of it? Are they welcoming to the idea? How do you think it impacts customer satisfaction? Jacob, what's your thoughts on that?
So, I think that in order to properly assess the value for the partnership, we should think on it as something that's going to persist, something permanent, something long term. And I believe that if all the parties have that intention to build something that's going to last for long, then it's easier to really get the value from that cooperation, because it's really nobody's interest to replace the vendor software. It's nobody's interest to replace the XI already experience in one particular field with another one. And so I would say that if we have that a long-term vision for cooperation, then the satisfaction levels will be higher across all the participants, not only the insurer, but also SI partner and the vendor.
Okay. Britt, Mike, thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. You know, I think when we're talking about core technology, whether that's a policy admin system, underwriting workstation, or a claims workbench, it's important to remember that these are probably some of the most critical technology decisions that any of my clients are making today.
That's so true, so true. And they're making it probably only once in their career, or maybe twice if they're lucky.
It's going to be a minimum of a decade-long decision, maybe upwards of 2 decades, are some of these decisions that are being made today. So, yeah, I talked a little bit earlier about looking inward to make sure that you've got your vision designed, but you also need to make sure that as you're going through these decisions, you're keeping your customer, your channel in mind. And we're encouraging our clients to over-index on the channel, almost, I'll say it a little bit provocatively, almost to forget the customer. But if you're working in an intermediated environment, you want to have the representation of your channel in the room, because ultimately that's who you're trying to satisfy in the marketplace. So whether that's the voice of a broker, the voice of a wholesaler, an MGA, I think a lot of times that component view can be left out of the decision-making process. But really, you and your partner are going to be responsible for collectively, interacting with that channel down the road, and making sure that whatever capability you're delivering via your technology decision is going to be an enablement of that relationship, because that's the relationship that's going to drive growth. That's the relationship where you're going to gain margin, and having that voice in the room, I think, becomes very important.
I think, Brett, and Jakob and Tony, I think that one of the things is that it may be a once-in-a-career decision, but it could also be a career-limiting decision if you get it wrong.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
So making sure that you're choosing the right people, the right product, the right partnerships, people who are going to enhance your organization, have the shared value of their knowledge that comes into play to allow to select and deliver the best it can possibly be, is absolutely core to this.
It's a great point, Mike. And you can try to make this decision as much of a quantifiable decision as you can, but the qualitative aspects are really important as well. And Tony, I thought you made a good point earlier. Inevitably, there's going to be a bump in the road. There's very few to no implementations that don't hit a sticking point at some point. And as you're going through your partner evaluation and selection, there's a qualitative element of, is this someone that I feel comfortable standing next to when the inevitable happens? And I think feeling that out as you're getting into the initial stages of your partnership process is really, really important, because that day is coming, and you want to be prepared.
No, I can't emphasize that bit enough. So look, so we're hearing a lot about creating a win-win-win. If I can sort of summarize what we're talking about here, strong relationships with a win-win-win. How do we ensure that all parties are successful in a project to create that win-win-win? Mike, what are your thoughts on that? Because you're sort of sitting in the middle of all of this as the product vendor. You've got your partners working to deliver the product, etc. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, first of all, it needs to be about a shared vision, a shared value. If there's a disconnect somewhere, then that win-win-win very rapidly becomes win-lose-win or lose-lose-lose. So everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction. Picking the right product is key to that. Picking a product that has a depth of experience, a depth of knowledge, and a depth of SI and partner support out in the market as well. Also important, so that you can share and you can leverage all of that collective information. I think that's kind of the core of it. To be able to win, it's about making the right decisions, and it's about having the right shared values and understanding what good looks like and what the KPIs are at the end of it. It's not about. I think the other thing, obviously, is people have short memories. Baselining where you are and where you want to be is absolutely good, the right thing to do as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mike. And let's be honest, right? The elephant in the room no one wants to talk about is the economics at the end of the day. And I think thinking about models and engagement strategies where your partners are compensated for the effort and the value they deliver. Being able as an insurer to articulate to your leadership how this technology is going to support whatever your goals are financially, whether it's a growth goal, whether it's a margin goal, whether it's de-risking your business platform. Being able to articulate that upfront early and getting buy-in across your stakeholder groups on what the intended outcomes are going to be from an economic standpoint, I think is always really, really helpful in setting the stage early and making sure that you've got something to track the efficacy of your partnership with. And let your partners in on that. Let them understand how you're declaring success within your four walls. And that gives them an ability to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward in terms of how they're articulating their value as well.
I think it's also a matter of really encouraging everyone to put some skin in the game, because it's investment for all this, from all the sides. It's not only client to prepare RFP, to do the selection, to clarify requirements, to onboard new partners, SIs. It's a huge investment from the client customer perspective. It's huge investment from the vendor providing a solution. There are always some adjustments, RFP processes, proof of concept that they have to fit in, and the same from the consulting company as integrator perspective. I mean, if we all keep in mind this is all of us investing jointly to achieve this common goal at the end of the day, and all the parties invest, let's go equally, then probably we all know we have to make it happen. We have to make it successful.
Jacob, I've got to say I absolutely echo those sentiments. In all my experience in the industry, I've seen so many exercises where the RFP process and RFX process generally goes through, and they measure all the hard measures, and they work out pricing and models and all the things that can empirically be measured. But nobody ever starts to try and measure those soft skills, those soft issues. Emotionally, are they involved in this? And have the right people bought in emotionally to doing this? Skin in the game is important, but also, do I feel like I can trust this person when the chips are down and things start to go wrong? On that note, how about insurers sharing their information? How open are insurers to sharing information with each other about what partnerships work well? Britt, what's your experience of that?
It's a real mixed bag, Tony, to be honest with you. I think we've got some insurers that I've worked with that tend to be fairly open about who they're working with, why they're working with, and rest assured, there's avenues for those lines of communication to be open beyond the formal reference process that you might have in a vendor selection process. That exists. However, I think the tools that we're talking about here do have the ability to bring some proprietary advantage, and that's where typically the line of communication from insurer to insurer may be cut. Now, that's a great place where you can use someone like a Jacob or myself to leverage a little bit of inside pool and learn a little bit more about what others are thinking, because in the model of your consulting partnership, a good consultant should be bringing in those types of details in terms of the reality. Right? How did an implementation go? Was it successful? What are the areas that we're bumped into? And it can be an avenue in a way to gain insight that's valuable, that you get from the experience of spreading across an industry and seeing a lot of different implementations.
And reputation is key in all of that. As we know in our industry, reputation is king. Jacob, your thought?
Yeah. So. Usually, everyone is willing to share information regarding their successes. So the same applies, I believe, the situation with the successful project. The successful partnerships initiatives. The rumor spreads quickly, and at the same time, it's harder to admit that selection went wrong. The cooperation or program turned out to be much harder than we planned. So,
and I've never seen a case study example on a failure.
Yeah, but that's actually what I'm aiming to mention, that I believe this is changing, and if we carefully read or listen to some case studies of insurers that they present during conferences, we will see that usually there is a section called lessons learned, and out there we can sometimes read between the lines what the problems were, and maybe they won't be sharing the names of partners SIs, but this can be identified. Yeah.
Yeah, the lessons learned slide at the end of the case study is always the most interesting one. Yeah, in my experience, insurers are not so comfortable about sharing the nitty-gritty detail of what they've been doing, because they see it's a competitive advantage. But every insurer in the world suffers from FOMO. You know, they all want to know what the other guy's doing, and they want to be the second one in. What somebody else has done it first, they want to be the second one in to be able to do that. Interestingly, so we've got two different markets in the US and the UK, and particularly the London market, Jacob, that you're focused on. I know because I've worked there. In London, pretty well every major insurance company in the world is represented in the 400s, 500-yard distance from the Lloyd's building. Every street is packed with insurance people. They all drink in the same coffee shops and the same wine bars. They all used to work with each other. They have relationships, with each other, married to each other, brothers and sisters, it's families, everything else. So that incestuous relationship has that cross-breeding and cross-information, because people take it with them when they move from organization to organization. And I guess you don't quite see that in the US, where it's geographically more spread out.
It's a different market in the US for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but Jacob, you've seen actually a significant amount of collaboration in the London market. So actually formal collaboration, particularly around Lloyd's, which is a good example of insurers working together. Tell us a bit more about that. And do you think that's a model that could be exported to other geographies? I mean, I'm sure Brett would be very happy that the customers are sharing his successes with their other insurers in the market.
So I have to admit that starting our first project for one of the London market insurers, we got surprised seeing our customers on one hand competing with each other, on the other hand truly cooperating, exchanging the experiences, lessons learned from different initiatives and implementations. That also included recommendation for consulting companies, integrators, vendors to each other. And indeed, this is rather uncommon, not only in the US, but if we move outside of UK, if we think of general insurance in UK, I've never seen 5 different chief operating officers or CIOs meeting regularly over dinner and to discuss problems that they may have in common. Here, there's a lot of problems or challenges, initiatives they are sharing, like you already mentioned in Blueprint 2. But I believe Lloyd's is truly a unique marketplace created by its participants, brokers, carriers, vendors, consultants, and it's in truly everyone's interest to increase the proficiency and to avoid the costly mistakes. And I do believe this can be replicated also on other geographies, because I see a lot of initiatives coming from integrators, coming from vendors. They started creating some safe environments for the clients or prospects to exchange opinions and present it during workshops or conferences. And honestly, to encourage everyone, I would say that learning from mistakes usually works. It's very powerful. But at the same time, learning from mistakes and right decisions that others made is probably much cheaper and safer way of getting smarter. Yeah.
As I say, the second mouse gets the cheese. First mouse, tends to lose his job.
Absolutely. And Tony, obviously we've got a more fragmented market. I think the UK benefits from having Lloyd's as a kind of a hub in the hub and spoke model. And we're dealing with different challenges here, but ultimately I think we're driving toward a similar goal in the US market. And one of the things that I think is particularly unique is that between key large brokers and underwriters, we actually have an alignment of incentives, and it's unusual that happens in our market. But the exchange between broker and underwriter is fraught with a tremendous amount of inefficiency today. And if you look at both sides of that equation, that's where a lot of margin leakage is occurring. And we're sitting here in 2024. I suspect by the time we're reconvening in the early 2030s, around 2030. We're probably talking about a lot of integration between core insurer platforms, underwriter workbench, claims workbench, and the broker workbench. and getting to a point where the exchange of data and information is much more frictionless than it is today, because that's a win for everybody in the industry. So yeah, I think as we're thinking about the partnership model and what does this mean for the future, thinking about my technology partners and how may I be able to integrate outside my four walls becomes something that I think needs to be part of the decision equation.
Okay, interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts there. So look, we're heading towards the end of our time. I will just push it out there. Anybody in the audience has any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A chat. But before we get to that and wrap up, I just want to say, so all three of you, if you saw somebody who's been on this webinar today, and they saw you in the street and said, I saw you on that webinar, I'm listening to everything you said, and you said to them, what do you remember about what we were talking about? What would be the one big takeaway that you'd want them to remember and be able to fire back to you? Britt, what would it be for you?
It's big decisions. We hinted at this earlier, but we're talking about really, really big decisions for the future of a business that will run the course of your career and beyond. Investing the time, really thinking through that partner construct, how to develop a win for everybody, and going out there with folks that you trust beyond the quantitative and into the qualitative is going to be absolutely critical for how you make good partnership decisions in the future. Okay, excellent. Great sound advice. Jacob, your words of wisdom.
Probably I would return to what I said at the beginning, that factors like shared values, culture, agility, and transparent communication are becoming truly crucial. And my advice would be to really properly validate whether the other party corresponds with what we expect, is not only to ask for references, but really to meet directly with people you're about to start working with, regardless if you are insurer looking for a vendor or you are a vendor looking for SI. There has to be kind of a chemistry between the parties, and it's worth checking that directly.
Okay, so it's a people-based thing. It's based on trust, and it's all about whether there's chemistry there to really make it work. Okay, now I completely get that. Completely. In fact, I was recently chairing an underwriting conference where that note about trust came up, whether it's a trading environment between the underwriter and the broker, or indeed with the technology partner to implement some of the things that they need to improve their performance. Mike, I'll leave the final words to you as to what we should be thinking about this, and the one big thing. What's your one big thing that you'd like everybody to think about?
I'd say there are probably three big things. Jacob and Britt have managed to cover quite a lot of it, but I think think about the future. This is not a decision for just now. This is a decision for the future. So pick a partner, pick a solution that you are going to be able to use now and grow with, and that can grow with you and your aspirations. So choose wisely, choose the best fits, choose the best culture, and choose the best team that's going to provide you with that sort of synergy that's going to allow you to more than succeed, but to actually just grow and grow and grow.
I think it's a really good point, and one we shouldn't forget, that the technology that's being deployed today will probably be similar to the technology that's been employed 20 years ago, still here in 20 years. So making those really strong choices, which will allow you to be in partnership for a long period of time, are absolutely crucial. Okay, so gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. We've run out of time here. I think we've covered this really well, and I'd like to thank you for all the input you've given us. Today we're talking about partnerships. Next time round on our webinar, we're going to be covering the question of cybersecurity underwriting and what's next after all of the cyber attacks. There's always a headline news about that happening. There's in the UK at the moment, there's a number of hospitals that have been attacked, and there's a blood shortage in hospitals because of the cyber attack. So it's a bit of a disaster, not just financially, but from a healthcare perspective. So the cybersecurity underwriting bit is going to be really interesting. That's on the 10th of July. So for our audience, if you make sure you register, and we look forward to seeing you on the 10th of July. In the meantime, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your insightful comments, and I appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.